The whole ending is the Krell was destroyed because of their id. They were able to access, their own id, and their own id came up and killed their whole fucking society. And then the father comes in here and he's the only one who's put the fucking thing on his brain, and he's the only one who survived it. So now he has this id running around there in his head of, oh, whether he knows it or not, he's got to keep it as bay. And he doesn't really know that. But all he knows is, okay, it's just me and my daughter here. Everyone else on the crew is dead. So why did they all die? They all died, was it really because, well, they died in the first month? No, they died because the fucking weird id went out there because they all made a vote and they all said that they wanted to go back home. And his brain was going, no, I don't wanna leave. I wanna be here in fucking Eden, and I wanna live here forever, and everything's gonna be fucking hunky dory. And oop, the thing came and killed all of you, and now I'll build these blast doors in case this thing comes back. But he didn't realize that it was coming out of his id. You know what I mean? And that's the realization of the end of the movie, is when he realizes, holy fuck, this was me. This was my fucking brain, my fucking id, and it's the same thing that the fucking Krell had. And I'll just jump to my thought process. The ending of this entire movie is the greatest threat in the universe is inside of us. And that's the whole theme of the entirety of this movie, is that is the most scary shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a 1950s Christopher Nolan movie. It leads all the way to the end, and then yeah, those last 10 minutes, it's like the dominoes just all fall, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the whole theme of this movie, is the greatest threat in the universe is inside of us. Our own minds being the ultimate enemy. That's the realization of all of the universe. All the exploring that you could do to leave Earth and go out there and go wherever you want. It's inside. Inside is the greatest threat.
They don't chase clout, they just chase the lore. Dig scenes that the mainstream ignores, where light fights dark in a fabled war. Yeah, the truth gets told when the movie's born. I'm the break in the flicker, the cut in the edit, the blade through the credits, a frame they embedded. Light in the distance, persistence poetic. The dark is a prison, I brighten with aesthetic. No stunt doubles, I tumble through trap fights. The script's in my soul, I control when my track spikes. Whisper in a reel, I reveal with the black light. The dark is a canvas that I carve with the flashlight. Call it a war cry, a cinematic spark, a puzzle in the shadows, a code of the art. It's Andrew and Greg and the legacy embarks. Our voices ignite and we light up the dark.
And now to prelude this, we're back for the 1956 Forbidden Planet, which we had a pick for your dad,
That's right.
which was The Fugitive. We had a pick for my mom, which is Incredible Shrinking Man. Now we have a pick for my dad, which is, yep, Forbidden Planet, 1956. And then we will have a pick upcoming for your mom.
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna complete the circle shortly in the next few weeks. My mom picked Vertigo, so that one's coming up.
Fantastic one.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. Is this the first time you've watched Forbidden Planet, or is you can't remember last time you watched it? Tell me your history with Forbidden Planet.
I might have watched it just because I know it's a classic, and I was just trying to check classics off the list, when I was a teenager and I first discovered movies. It was just a process of I didn't even care what it was. I would just watch it if it was a famous movie that had any kind of impact on film history. I would just try to watch it. So I should tell you, in general, I liked the movie, so I don't want to sound like I'm, insulting the film or anything, but this is not the type of movie that I gravitated to as much as other movies. Yeah. Kind of like a 1950s B movie kind of thing, right? Sci-fi B movie. So it has a kind of cheesiness. This was never really the kind of movie that I gravitated to. Yeah. And then watching it last night, I will tell you that the whole movie, I was semi on the edge of my seat, basically thinking, what is going to happen in this movie? I had no idea where the story's going.
Very interesting to hear that aspect of it.
Yeah. So this is your dad's pick. This came up because I was chatting with you and your dad was there, and you asked him what I think actually I asked him. This actually happened because of me. I forgot.
It is, yeah.
Because I asked him, like, I was first meeting your dad over Zoom, and so I was trying to, like, get to know your dad, so I said, "Well, what's your favorite movie, sir?" And, he said it immediately too. He was like, "Forbidden Planet."
Yeah.
So, what's your experience with this movie? So you asked me. I mean, my experience is, like, completely fresh, raw, but for you, you must have more familiarity with it than I do.
Yeah, I'd seen it, as a kid. I'd watched it on VHS, and I always kind of liked it and had a comforting feel to it, but I saw it after I saw Star Wars. I saw it after it was probably early to mid 90s, maybe around like 93 or something, somewhere around there, 93, 94, 95. But I'd seen it, and I always just had a comforting feel to it. Like, I find the movie very comforting. Like, it's, you're there, you're in space. It's not there are those scenes of dramatic doom, that happen within it, but it's very, it takes itself very seriously. Like, it's not like a bunch of jokes are filled in. You see these military type, space people going through space and just following their procedures. And in that aspect, um it has a very Star Trek feel to that, where it's not, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek or whatever. It's the original Star Trek of just like, okay, this is what we're doing next, Captain. Now we move on to here. And now we go over here and beam us up in the green thing, which is what I was trying to look at was even watching it this past time, they have that whole scene at the beginning, it's like 3 or 4 minutes in, where they're getting ready to come out of light speed, and they go into this green thing that looks like the "Beam Me Up, Scotty," and
Right.
they're just like, "Mm," and I don't know if they're decontaminating themselves or if that's just a process that they go through to get out of light speed. They just go in the green thing, so I guess they don't go flying through the wall as you slow down, you know what I mean? But it's not really like I like that fact that it's not like, "Hey, sir, we go into the green thing now to make sure we don't smash into the wall," or whatever. It's just like, okay, you're just following them on their procedure as if you're a fly on the wall, and they're not spelling every aspect of everything out for you. They do enough, but not to a degree where it's like they trust that, like, "Hey, the audience is the fly on the wall watching this,
Yeah.
and you're just gonna watch it, and you're just gonna watch these people do their things." And I think that's, like, kind of a fairly smart interesting aspect to it. They get certain things, that they spell across to you, like, "We've gotta learn about the Krell metal and show that your little blasters don't do this," or Robbie saying, like, "Oh, it's a little phaser blast," because like, think about those little, like, blaster things or whatever the fuck they had. It's like that's we see them now and we just go, "Oh, yeah, that's in Star Wars, it's in everything, you get it. It's a little laser coming up," but that was, like, a new thing, like, for this type of movie to be able to see that and be able to see that, they'd taken this guy, I had to research and look it up, this one guy from Disney who had worked on Fantasia or whatever, a bunch of other, like, Bambi and things like that, and he was the animator who animated, the monster within this when he's being electrocuted and all that stuff, and he also did each one of the little drawings of the little phaser things flying out of those little guns. Like, these were big effects, back then. These were like, wow, it's the first time I see it's like the first time when I've seen a lightsaber as a kid. Like, that thing is fucking awesome.
I was thinking as I was watching it, in 1956, this must have been incredible. Like, if you were sitting in a movie theater as a 15-year-old kid, like your dad was, watching this, I thought this must have blown people's minds.
It was our Jurassic Park. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you think back before this, you're like, all right, what was it? There was King Kong. You know what I mean? Like, what was the big movie? And that was 1933.
Yeah. I was also a little caught off guard right at the beginning. I think I had seen a trailer or like a still image that was in black and white. So I thought I was going into a black and white movie.
Ah.
So that was something I loved right away. Was like CinemaScope, widescreen, full color. So it felt like you were in this other world.
Yeah, so the opening to you, it has a very, I wouldn't maybe say slower pace type thing, but we have a voiceover that comes in explaining a little bit, and we see this ship that looks like a flying saucer from the '50s flying through space. Just kinda almost wanna point that out that this entire movie takes place in either a spaceship or on, the planet L5, or I forget the name of it, whatever it's called, but there's no Earth. Earth is not in this movie, and I think this is the first movie Even A Trip to the Moon had parts that were on Earth. This is the first movie that took an entire movie and premise of us being out in space or on a completely other planet. Earth is never seen in this whatsoever.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I quickly glanced at the Wikipedia article for the movie, and I saw that this movie had a lot of pioneering aspects, that it would say it's, like, subtly a history-changing film. I felt like I was watching, like, the proto version of so many classic sci-fi films that would come later, and it was like I was seeing the blueprint for where they all came from.
100%. And this specific time, because that those are two of the aspects of the film that I kind of want to talk about. Is definitely the fact of how much this influenced certain things within cinema, but specifically this theme that was hitting me this time about. I mean, we're just getting to the end of the movie, but the theme of the id. It was hitting me huge how Ghostbusters. I'm like, it's the entire ending of that movie. Is Gozer literally says Gozer is like Destructor specifically saying to them like the Destructor will take the form of their choosing, and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man comes out of like Ray's fucking id. And it's literally like as soon as I started thinking about that, I was like, there's so many directors and so many different movies that have uh, either consciously or subconsciously been so influenced by this movie that it seeps into any type of sci-fi that is out there. And that's when I started doing even more research specifically into that as well, just going like, I need to find out how many different parables that there are to this. And the Ghostbusters was my way in. And as soon as I thought of that, I thought of Sphere. And then I was like, now I'm gonna start Googling. I was like, now I'm going it. And I was like, I need to see how much this id aspect of stuff and is there. So there'll be a good amount to talk about when it comes to that angle.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, yeah. I mean, if I told you, okay, it's a science fiction movie where the opening shot is a spaceship flying over the camera, and then yellow font comes on screen over, empty space. What movie are you thinking of?
I mean, we're talking Star Wars. I mean, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah,
It's like there's
yeah.
this and Robbie the Robot. The one thing I saw misreported a few times is saying like Robbie the Robot was the first humanoid robot that's been in a movie or whatever. Like they were overblowing that, but I see why they did it because then I was just like, wait a minute, hold on. Metropolis has the fucking robot in that movie. There's, The Day the Earth Stood Still that came out, like, a couple of years before this, which has the Gork, or I forget whatever his name is, the one standing there, whatever, but
Right,
I looked into how they, and I called my dad specifically about this as well. I called him today to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be doing the podcast, like, tell me." He was, like, 15 when this came out.
right.
So he was, this was, and I was like, "How big was this movie?" He was like, "Oh, it's one of the things that really, got him into sci-fi. It was before Star Trek." And Gene Roddenberry specifically said, like, "I based Star Trek completely on this film." Like the three people, the commander, the logistical kind of first officer guy, and the doctor. He's just like, that's Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. He's like,
Right.
I literally just took them from this completely.
Yeah.
The amount of people that we've seen things and that has been distilled from this is insane. Even watching the whole end with them walking through the reactors and the 70,000 floors or whatever, I'm just like, this is from Total Recall, where you go to the alien planet and the people on Mars had built this exact same structure, and it's just like living here underneath them. They could melt the ice and do whatever the fuck. Like all cinema, sci-fi type stuff that we've loved since being kids. We've seen Forbidden Planet aspects of that through this 1,000 times. Like
Yeah.
you got the Robbie, you got C3PO. Like it's all of this shit is just like in this movie, and the fact that this movie did all of that in one movie, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest things to see when I watched it, for sure. I was wondering, like, what am I gonna think and what am I gonna get out of this experience? And it was a surprising element because I didn't realize how influential the movie was.
Yeah, it doesn't feel, to me, that's the cool thing about it, like, like, the outfits, like, are even ahead of their time, like, it's that's to me, like, the futuristic spacesuit, like, the space outfit, you know what I mean? Like, And if you think about that, even just from the level of fashion, like it's I don't want to say exactly akin, but it's somewhat there where like, you know, Back to the Future Part 2 has a futuristic look to me. This still has a futuristic look to me. When you see like the ribbed stuff across their shirts that they're wearing, a little padded stuff going on in their outfits, it's like it still holds up today where I don't look at it and be like, "Oh, this is silly old 1950s what people thought like future space would look like or whatever." Like you just watch it and you're kind of like, "Okay, yeah, it has that semi 50s aspect to what a future could look like, but it doesn't throw me off when I'm watching it." Like it seemed very still in the now. You're not watching a movie going like, "Oh my god, this is so dated."
Yeah, it looked great, and I mean, the influence on Star Trek. I mean, that just like, hit me like a freight train. As soon as the movie started, I was immediately like, okay, Leslie Nielsen is Captain Kirk.
Right, yep.
And I'm like, I'm watching Star Trek before Star Trek. I'm like, I'm watching an episode of Star Trek, but Star Trek doesn't exist yet.
And that threw me off because I was watching them and I'm like, "Oh, it's Beam Me Up, Scotty. They're gonna disappear and go somewhere else," and they just come right back. And
Right, right.
it's a weird thing that throws you off going, "Huh, a future thing that I'm so used to, something that came out after this that was influenced by this, did this same thing but in a different way, and I'm so used to that, that when they didn't disappear and reappear somewhere else and they just reappeared in the same place, you go, 'Wait, what? That just mind fucked me.' What's going on
Yeah.
here? What is this thing?"
Yeah, it was like Gene Roddenberry clearly took this as the mold and then made some changes. Like, I think the idea of the beams teleport you,
Right.
like that's
Yeah.
almost like even cooler. So it's like you take it to the next level. And I think Captain Kirk, I think the characters in Star Trek are more memorable. So it's like he took this mold, Roddenberry, and then he kind of just pumped it up. He kind of dialed up the volume and
Yep.
made it pop even more. And that's why Star Trek still exists in our culture today as like brand new, shows and movies are coming out. It's huge IP. Forbidden Planet is not that, but the bones are all here.
Yeah, Roddenberry took it to 11.
Yeah. Even the opening scene where you're talking about the beaming and the light speed, that actually caught me off guard as well, where I was like, wait, what did they just do? And I wasn't used to the movie yet. So the movie's just going, and all of a sudden they do something where they don't explain it. And you're like, wait, what just happened? And then they just move on and they show you the next thing. And it's like by the end of the film, you realize how smart the movie is. And you said this before we started recording that the movie's so smart. Like the movie doesn't stop to explain things to you. And I didn't know that. So I kind of was like at the very beginning, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm a little confused. Like, am I supposed to be confused?
Did I miss something?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You say that many times to yourself watching this for the first time. You go, "Did I miss something?"
Yeah. I think the way you phrased it actually was better. You said the movie treats the audience like they're smart.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't know that at the beginning. By the end, you discover the film and you find that out that, okay, this movie's on a certain intellectual level where it's just gonna go and it's not gonna stop and explain things to you.
And I think that's an influence. I think that's a semi-influence on Kubrick as well.
Yeah.
2001 has an aspect to the procedural aspects that are going on throughout 2001 that we were even talking about, on our 2001 talk. And, that procedural aspect of like him checking in, the little rules there, like signing into AT&T, calling the daughter, like there's just he treats that in the same type of way. Those procedural things that are just this is what happens in the daily life of somebody here and you're just watching it.
Yeah. I feel like it's like standing on the shoulders of giants. It's like you have to give the honor to the art that came before and inspired that next generation. I always love movies like that. I think it's important to, go back and like talk about that.
Yeah. There's a lot, whether it's there, whether it's subconscious, whether it's not, there's a lot of those there. Like Alien, like the movie Alien, like it's, working class crew that's like being called or forced to like a distant planet. They stumble across, an alien tech that turns out to be something, you
Mm.
know, against them as well. It's almost like a horror remake of the thing. I think all of these things are very subconscious to many, sci-fi writers. And maybe it might be one of those things that's just it was always there. It's in the same old type philosophy type thing. So the same themes keep coming up and this and that. But as soon as you infer technology into it and aliens and technology, all those same themes come up. But I was even taking it to the fact of like Jaws. You don't see the shark; you only get to see the barrels. And I'm wondering when he was forced to do that, where you couldn't see the shark as much, was he thinking, "Well, my fallback is like Forbidden Planet. You're not going to see the monster." In this thing, you're only going to see the footprints or like going up the stairs, which is one of the things my dad brought up. I was
Right.
like, "What's one of the memorable things that sticks out to you, in this?" And he was like, "I always remember the stairs." And that one shot is fantastic. You see the footprints, and I was looking at this going like, the take two on this is like blow your head off because it's a one shot where each one of those footprints is being pulled down by somebody below the set or whatnot, and the imprints are happening. But then you get to the stairs, and you imagine just how big and how much weight this creature must have to be able to forcefully step on these metal stairs that pull down so perfectly as it goes up through. And it was just cool to see that, like, when I had the conversation with him, that was like, that is something that stuck in his head, for almost 70 fucking years now. This movie's almost 70 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that shot too. That's one of the shots that jumped out at me. It's almost like a Hitchcock kind of shot because the camera just follows all in one take and it just follows the footsteps. And yeah, on that first metal rung on the spaceship, it bent like a little bit and I wasn't sure. My eye was like, did it just bend? And then as it goes, it bends it more and more. And it was like, wow, that's actually really cool. Yeah, that's great.
You know what's interesting about that? I never noticed that the first metal rung didn't bend as much, but maybe also if you think really deep into it, maybe it doesn't bend as much because that's the first step that you're putting and your other foot is still on solid ground. So you're
Mm.
not, pushing it. I might be going too far because at some point your other
Uh,
foot would lift up and then all the weight would be on that step. So I don't know. Yeah, yeah. But
yeah.
anyway, thinking too deep into that. It's probably just the guy underneath wasn't pulling hard enough. But anyway.
Yeah, and later when you see the monster more like the full version, the most we ever see it, it does look really cool. So yeah, this was like a movie that kind of it's like it snuck up on me where it got more and more interesting as it went. And I thought, yeah, like the final like special effects and the style and the visuals and everything is pretty amazing because yeah, by the end when they have that full battle with the monster and you start to see this like almost like electric outline, I was like, "This is great."
That's the only way you see him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's again the guy from Disney fucking, frame by frame drawing that, and I looked up how he was doing it. They actually just drew it on white paper, every frame of it, and they
Mhm.
shot it and did a negative and then did a composite over top of it. And that is just that's all you see of this thing. Instead of doing like, "Hey, let's go get like a rubber guy in a suit doing whatever." It's so much
Mhm.
better because that's the whole theme for this whole thing. It is the it. You that's the only time you get to see this
Yeah.
metamorphosized a little bit. And it comes across really effectively well.
Yeah. And I never realized how close of a connection it had to Alien as well. I thought about Star Wars, I thought about 2001: A Space Odyssey for sure, of course, Star Trek. But then you're so right, Alien is essentially like Forbidden Planet and 2001: A Space Odyssey merged together, just dialed up with 1970s horror,
Mhm.
because you're right, the opening is the identical premise.
And John Carpenter, think about the thing. The only way that, to find out the blood or whatever from the thing, it's only revealed by, light or fire or electricity, like heat. Heat is the thing that makes the thing jump
Mhm.
out, and they're always using same thing with this. It gets in that little beam, then you get to see it. It reveals itself there. So whether that's conscious, subconscious, whatever, like that's another director or story being influenced by because that's not in the original, novel. It's not in the original thing that came out, but in John Carpenter's version, that's the thing that parses out and lets you know that hey, here's the thing. Even though that's an alien and this is something from the id that we'll get into, but either
Right,
way.
yeah. Yeah, as I was watching it, the amount of filmmakers and writers and creators that I feel like have loved this movie and have been inspired by this movie, it just kept running through my head. I was like, Gene Roddenberry, Stanley Kubrick, Ridley Scott, John Carpenter, George Lucas.
Luke is huge. Oh yeah,
Yeah. I just kept thinking
huge.
that. But at the same time, I will say that, I also don't want to undermine this movie in a way of like, oh, it was an influential movie that created better movies. No, this movie also is super interesting and great on its own.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, I was like, okay, I'm watching an episode of Star Trek. And that was kind of my way in, where I'm like, let me open myself up to this movie, this old 1956 like sci-fi movie that I have no memory of. And I'm like, am I going to enjoy this movie? I'm in 2025, like I've seen faster paced, better special effects. It's like, what am I going to get out of this viewing? So my way in was like, oh, it's like Star Trek. Okay, I see. I'm gonna appreciate that this movie was clearly very influential, so it must have a lot of good things about it. And then there is a lot of like slow exposition. Oh, I think Christopher Nolan is another one. I kept thinking about Christopher Nolan. I was like, this is like a 1950s Christopher Nolan movie.
That's a good way of thinking. I didn't pick up
Yeah,
on that. That's really good.
yeah. I mean, it reminded me of like Inception, where it's like a lot of exposition. It's kind of like heavy at the front, and then by the time it all starts paying off, your mind is blown,
Right. That's a
you
good.
know?
That's really good. Yeah, because arguably the thing that in this too, it's building up to a payoff that I think for the audience, even at the time, we don't have to fully get into the whole id thing yet, but I think for an audience at the time, like even for now, it's that exposition becomes like a Hitchcock exposition where you really do need to know you're going like, "What is going on?" Because that is a big mind fuck that's going on at the
Yeah.
end of the thing, and
Yeah.
especially if that's kind of like the first time that something like this was brought up. I mean, same thing, like I mentioned Sphere, that whole thing about, the fucking movie Sphere is,
Michael Crichton
it's
too, yeah.
yeah, Crichton, at the end of that, it's the same thing, and then it brought out the worst in humanity, it brought out the worst, within those people as soon as they were given this ability to go into your mind and find that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just like tell you, skip to the end a little bit, and then we can kind of maybe double back and do
Okay,
like a whole
okay.
thing. Yeah, but like at the end, when the the other crew member, like the sidekick guy, he goes and he puts on the helmet thingy. It's not really a helmet, but it's like these rods
Yeah, those
that
weird little
yeah,
things that yeah,
yeah,
don't do it,
yeah.
otherwise your stupid human brain won't take my IQ is 185 and I almost died, like a peon like you.
Yeah. So he comes out and he's dying because he did that. And then he says it's the id. And then he just dies.
Right.
And I was
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
it was the same as like with the green beams, where I was like, wait, what? I'm like, what is and I immediately thought, is he talking about the Freudian id? Is that what that is? This like some sci-fi lingo that's inside of this movie? Or is this a psychology, reference here?
Yeah.
And so I was like, what's going on? And he just dies, and there's like a moment in between. And then they get to it later, where then the captain is like, what's the id? What's the id? And then they're like, it's inside of your mind. And they start talking psychology. And at that point, I'm just like, that's like only the last 10 minutes of the movie, too. Like it takes the
Right.
whole movie to build up to that point. And yeah, at that point, I was just like, okay, what the heck is going on here? And it's like my mind started being blown.
That's
Yeah.
where it really becomes, like the way we think about like a deep Star Trek episode where you have to
Right.
sit there and
Exactly.
think about it and you go, "Oh shit, fuck. Okay, you guys are going somewhere else besides some surface level bullshit." Because
Yeah.
the whole themes of that just explode right there. His insecurity about his daughter, and then Freud comes into that. Who are these people who are going to take my daughter away? Like, there's a lot of themes that are at the end of that fucking movie.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy.
That's another visual shot that I did want to mention. When the Krell metal is being melted, the door is being melted, and his alter ego id on the other side is coming through to destroy all of them. That shot of the melting of the metal, there's no way that episode one with the lightsabers going into the door, melting that is not totally in George Lucas's brain of he's like, I'm doing this completely.
Totally. Yeah. And like you said, that set or the matte paintings, whatever they were, that giant area with all of the electric energy. And, they walk through on these massive platforms and they're just dwarfed, their tiny little bodies walking through this massive space. And yeah, I thought about Star Wars.
Big time. The coloring in that,
Yeah.
everything about it is, that he's telling like
Yeah.
the matte painter and set designers like, hey, listen, let's sit down. This is what we're going for here.
Yeah. There was so much Star Wars. I mean, yeah, it was crazy.
And this entire film, this is something that I didn't notice too until I was watched it and then looked at it as well. The entire movie was shot on sets, and I didn't even consider it or think about it. But there's not one shot in the whole film that's any sort of exterior. The whole
Mm.
thing is on sets, or the miniature of the spaceship, which looks fantastic, by the way. I mean, it looks like the same, aspect of like the ending shot of it going away. You're just like, oh, it's like a 2001 like three an actual model moving. The stars look amazing, and you see the little disc spinning inside of it. Like it's no like here's matte painting, just cut out a thing and get it over with. Like the attention to detail within the film is fantastic.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Rewind Society, a private club for analog purists and those who still believe the tracking knob was mankind's greatest invention. Each month, members receive a hand-labeled, unmarked VHS tape in the mail. What's on it? That's not for us to say. Could be a taped over broadcast of WCW Nitro, a local furniture commercial from 1992, or something that was never meant to be recorded. All we ask is that you watch it alone, at night, and please, be kind, rewind. Apply now at Rewind Society. Use code Andrew and Greg .tapehiss to skip the beta testing waitlist. Rewind Society. The past is calling. Pick up a landline. Well, let's go to Robby. I got a few
Okay.
things potentially to say
Okay.
about Robby. Because
Okay. Double back.
double back to Robby. Robby is my dad even like I grew up just knowing the name Robby the Robot. Like for some reason that was just always in like the subconscious. You knew Robby the Robot, and he was from this, and then you kind of knew him almost as just like a different character. So I had to look into the way that he was kind of advertised in this because also this ties into my thing of when they land and then they come down. I remember the first time watching this where they're like, Captain, whatever, something's over there in the distance. It's moving fast, and this thing was moving, and you just see like the dust plumes, and something's happening, and something's coming, and you don't know what it is, and you're like, oh shit. And then you see him kind of come up, and you don't know if this is good or bad. I had to look into some aspects of the marketing of this, and Robby is on the front cover of this holding like the passed out what's her name? God forbid.
Yeah. Alta.
Alta, yes. Altair or Alta. And
Yeah.
he's like holding her on the cover. So he's like the main star of this movie. And they were advertising him, and he was like not top billing, but he was there. Robby the Robot. Like they were building up this character of like, hey, we're building a personality into this robot, that's one of the things that it really kind of is. It is the first like personality type. Hey, this is a talking robot that you're really going to have in this film as character. And when he comes up and then you go, "Oh, not bad robot, good robot." And then and then you get to learn that, hey, the doctor has made this robot and Alta's friends with this robot, and this robot has usefulness and can do, hey, you need alcohol distilled from your thing. Oh, it's just made from this. How many gallons would you like? Or, whatever. How many barrels? Like
Yeah. I was scrolling on Letterboxd reviews earlier today, and yeah, somebody did mention that poster, and they said the poster's totally misleading. It looks like, Robbie's gonna hurt people, but they said like he turned out to be a sweetheart, like he wouldn't harm a soul.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of reading too, that was kind of like potentially a marketing thing because, hey, scary alien beings being robots can get more people into the seats or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they had no monster to showcase. Imagine what else it would be. It would just be like what the guys and then the doctor with the beard standing there cross-armed, just staring
Right.
into the light. You need to go, "Hey,
Yeah.
let's put Robbie," because there's no monster, to show the marketing guys are like, "Give me something."
And yeah, probably the most famous like character, right? Or like the most famous thing about the movie that people actually remember is probably the robot, right?
Well, I mean, Alta, come on, man. And
Uh,
this, marketing thing that they were doing in it that I just researched was that they were kind of, it was originally gonna be called, not Forbidden Planet, but, I forget the name, but it was something like Doom Planet, Scary Planet, I forget whatever it was, but they were going for a much more, terrifying aspect to it, so they were putting Robbie on there to kind of have you have that thought process that this robot could be a bad robot. This is what I was reading in there, and my dad didn't particularly remember this, but from what I was reading is they were doing that with the cover, so I can see them kind of having that different aspect of not having some sort of, like, huge aha moment, but that same moment that I remember having as a kid when the robot shows up, there's a build up to, "Oh, no, is this a scary thing?" And then you're like, "Oh, it's a friendly thing." And then for the rest of the movie, Robbie, you have this affinity towards. And then after this film, they reused Robbie in so many different things. I looked up, they spent, 120 or $130,000 building the Robbie suit. So they were gonna
mm.
get their money back out of this no matter what. And they ended up, utilizing him in so many different things. I wrote down, so he was used in there's an unofficial sequel potentially that's called The Invisible Boy. I've never seen it, but he's been used in The Twilight Zone. He was in The Addams Family. He was in an episode of Columbo. He was in Mork and Mindy. He's in Gremlins. And then in 2014, he was in The Big Bang Theory. And I think 2014 is the year I wrote down right. I'm not sure. But he was just sold in like 2017 for $5.3 million at auction, and it was considered one of the most expensive movie props ever sold, and apparently it came with the little cart that he rides around with.
That's great. Yeah, okay, popular robot. I didn't know that. I didn't realize Robbie the Robot was so popular.
Oh, they had toys of Robbie the Robot
Okay,
back in the
okay.
'50s. Oh, yeah.
I was gonna ask that. I was like, it sounds a little bit like a toy marketing thing,
They merchandise.
you
I think
know?
Spielberg saw what was going on here, was just like, me and Lucas, we're gonna cash in on this 20 years later. We know what we've seen what to do.
That's true. I mean, that really is your selling point. I mean, that he's kind of the HAL 9000 of this movie. I mean, I thought about TARS from Interstellar.
Right.
Yeah, similar.
But Tars on the cover would be kinda tough. People would go, "What
Yeah.
the fuck is that thing?"
Well, as great as Leslie Nielsen is, I don't think you can quite market him the same way as Matthew McConaughey.
Gotta say, though, we gotta toss that there. Pretty good looking guy. All I ever knew of him was, hey, the love all the Naked Gun, but I knew him from that, and I knew him from, what was it? Not the Ray Bradbury one. What's the one with Ted Danson where he's drowning Ted Danson on a beach?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
All right, I gotta get this is
Yeah. This was one of my most enjoyable parts was seeing a young Leslie Nielsen, like seeing Leslie Nielsen as a young leading man. Because I only know him from The Naked Gun. I don't know this Ted Danson movie you're talking about.
So Creep. I just had to Google it. I'm so dumb. It's Creep Show. George A. Romero
Okay.
directed Creep Show in 1982, and
Okay.
that to me, talk about playing the opposite because I hadn't seen these till after all of the Naked Guns, where all I knew is Leslie Nielsen's the funny guy, and he's in these movies with O.J. Simpson, and oh, it's fun and silly, and then I get to see him in Creep Show, and I go, what the fuck? This is the most fucked up shit I've ever seen. But I don't think it dawned on me as much that this was Leslie Nielsen when I was a kid. Like, I kinda got it, but I don't think it was, like, really there.
Yeah. I only knew Leslie Nielsen from Naked Gun. I love those movies. When I was a kid, I watched those over and over. So I have in my head, the white haired, goofy, funny Leslie Nielsen. And yeah, that was awesome to see him like young, the brown 50s hair gelled.
Perfectly coiffed hair, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and playing like, the kind of suave, tall, handsome leading man. That was really cool.
Debonair.
Yeah, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's the guy that Alta has her eye on immediately. You can tell,
Mhm.
right? It's like that one. And
Oh, yeah.
I never realized how great his voice is.
And Shatner too. Think about Shatner's
Right.
voice. Like, the 2 of them are they're very cast in that same type of way. You could see, Roddenberry and who's ever, making the decisions to actually put in that thing is looking for the same qualities.
Yes, Leslie Nielsen and a young William Shatner, right? Very similar. So yeah, I think they definitely for Star Trek definitely jumped off of this and said we need this type.
Yeah. And Alta's father, the doctor in this, he talked about his voice too. Like he's commanding perform. I could watch that guy just explain nonsense. He could explain what a chalkboard is to me for like 25 minutes. And he'd be like, well, the chalk is like this, and you turn the board, and this is how you use
Yeah.
an eraser. Like when he starts speaking and just he delivers exposition in the most riveting type way.
Yeah, Walter Pidgeon.
Mm. There you go.
Yeah, whenever he came on screen, you're like, okay, quiet. Like you're watching an actor
Yes.
like perform right now, right? It's like, okay, oh
Yes.
wow.
And I think one of the most interesting things about that too is that whenever you have like a castaway or whatever on a desert island that's only been there by themselves, it always come up to them and they haven't seen anybody in like 30 years and they're bumbling and they're fucking like all over the place. Like he is the most put together uh person ever, which makes you just from the beginning, whether we don't know that he's put the things to his brain, he's really smart or any of that shit. But like you have a subconscious thing going like, well, this guy hasn't really interacted with humans in, 30 years or whatnot. And he's really put together. And just subconsciously, you're sitting there watching that going like, wow, this is a commanding person who is, not like, oh wow, look, people are arriving. This is wonderful. He's not terrified of having them there. He tells them, "Yeah, you can't come." And then when they're forcing themselves to come, he goes, "All right, fine. You're gonna come, you're gonna come." And then he just deals with that very well. And I think operating on a subconscious level as you're watching that, you really are going, there's something very unique about this person, about this character of this person.
Yeah. Speaking of Batman Begins, because we were talking about that before we started the episode, that's our pick for next week.
Is this gonna be Alfred? What's going on with this one?
The moment I saw Walter Pidgeon in this movie, I was like, he looks like Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins.
Oh, he's Ra's out with the beard
Yeah,
and the sash.
yeah.
Got it. Oh, yeah.
I thought he was totally Ra's al Ghul. And so that actually kind of created this idea in my head where I was like, he's got to be the villain. I was like, this is Ra's al Ghul. He's the villain of this movie. So I was like waiting the whole movie.
You're right, he's the only bearded man in the entire film. Everyone else is military, clean-shaven space people.
Yeah. So I thought that immediately, and I thought, okay, I'm smart enough in 2025 to now know, you introduce an actor like this and there's no clear villain in the film, he's probably going to turn out to be. So I was like, okay, what's this guy got going on? I was waiting for like the twist for the whole movie. But here's the thing, it kept me so interested because I was like, I don't know what it's going to be. That's the thing is even though I could see that there's going to be something, it's like I could tell, but I don't know what it is. So it wasn't the who, it was like the what. It was like what's going on this planet. And I did think that was so interesting.
That's a really good way. No, now I'm thinking about that because I didn't think about visual cues to something like that.
Yeah, I was
But
like, this
now
guy's
that
totally the villain.
no, now you're pointing it out. It's not just the beard. He also is everyone else has their hair in that coiffed way. He has it slicked back and then down to a point in front of his head like Dracula. Like it's
Yeah.
coming down to a point like they're okay. Okay. They're all dressed a certain way. He's dressed all in black and he's got his thing. Ah, okay. It was there. It was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's It's one that I could tell that we both really like. I've watched it, a decent amount of times, maybe 5 or 6 times in my life, and I feel very comforting to it. This is probably your first watch, and if you did watch it before,
Yeah.
you totally forgot it. So it's it's a
Yeah.
good just like, let's look at the history of
Oh,
this thing. And I think we're both just giving the thought process to this of realizing how many other films that we love and how many other filmmakers that we love were influenced by it. And then still when we watch it, we go, wow, there's something so redeeming about this movie from 70 years ago that still holds up. So like that's kind
yeah.
of like the running theme for this specific podcast. Another thing to
Yeah.
throw in there is that when they get down there, the ship calls down to them and they're around the house. And he's been using that little communicator that he pulls off his belt, and it's got a little cable on it, and he's
Mm.
talking into it. And we just think it's a talking thing. And then they go, let us see that you're okay. And then he points this little microphone and just points it around the room. And then you realize, oh, this is a little iPhone that's just connected to his belt that he's just pointing around and it's got a camera on it. And they go, oh, I can see everything. Now, we don't get to see what they see if it's like a camera or if it's like some sort of LiDAR detection that shows them what's going on. Like, we don't know. And I love that aspect too, that's not shown in any way whatsoever. It's just,
Right.
hey, show us that everything's okay. And then he just does it. Okay, moving on. It's another one of those things where you just go, "Hey, audience, if you don't get it, you don't get it." Like, this is a procedural thing that we're doing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And then the moment where he moves it onto Alta, and then you just hear
Yeah, 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 and that's,
Speaking of, the cast, yeah, we mentioned, everybody else, and then Anne Francis.
yeah,
You had texted me before when I was watching the film, before the film, and you said, "Is Hazel gonna like this one?"
yeah, and that's well, it was because of Hazel, I'm sure that she would like a movie that had more women in it because at least there'd be more outfits to look at. I knew it was gonna be a little bit of a slower paced film for Hazel to be potentially
Right.
watching, and I was like, the
Right.
opening could be a bit much. You got 12 guys, 13 guys, whatever, on a ship doing procedural things. That
Yeah,
could be a
yeah.
little bit slow if she's gonna be used to watching things of this day, and then she's also looking going, there isn't even a woman on this. There's not a love story that I can get involved with at the beginning of this. What's happening? No outfits I can look at. And that was when you're like, is Hazel gonna like this? I'm like, there is only one woman in the whole film.
And at that point, I was right at the beginning, and I didn't know who it was gonna be, and I thought this could be, any type of character. I had no idea. And then I just texted you, "Is she hot?" And then you sent me like a GIF, like a raised eyebrow, like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
And so then I was like, okay, I wasn't 100% sure still because I'm like, is he messing with me? It was almost like right when I got the text from you, I look up, and then Anne Francis walks onto the screen.
In her mini skirts.
Yeah, and Hazel actually did look up, and she was like, "Oh, I could see who this movie's for. Like, this is for all the teenage boys in the 50s."
She goes, I see why Greg's dad picked this movie.
That's exactly what she said. She's like, "No wonder Greg's dad loves this movie so much."
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
But yeah, that was a huge addition to the enjoyment for me. Yeah, was Anne Francis for the entire movie. Yeah, for sure.
The apparently, I had to look up, it was the mini skirt aspect got her banned in certain countries, and the scene where she's, swimming, quote, unquote, "nude," they had made a nude suit for her, and that also got very, very edgy in the '50s.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, arguably, people remember the name Robbie the Robot, they definitely know the robot. I think Alta's number 2, maybe, it's a close second.
Yeah. It was great though, because I mean, in all seriousness, it does play into the plot. It's like she's the one woman, and she's a huge character. She's a key character, and she actually is the reason. It's like it is the female influence of the film and the female presence. It's her soft, lovely female presence that actually is the thing that ultimately, like, essentially conquers the beast. It's kind of has that King Kong element.
Yeah, and it's interesting too how they point out the ignorance of the power that she has over man. Like they specifically point that out. She has no problem just like swimming naked because she's like, "Oh, I'm with all my animal friends. This is what we do," or this that. And he's like, do you understand?" Like he has that moment with her. She's like, "Oh, I just gave him a kiss. Like, what are you doing? We were just doing like I have no idea, what I'm doing over here." And he's just like, "You have no idea." Unfettered by other human emotions, wants, desires, or needs. It's an interesting thing. So because she comes into her emotions, you get to see her in the second half of the film being like, I hate this man. Like I'm starting to have weird feelings and she doesn't know what this is. Why am I pulled towards this one person? I just never want to see him again. But then I go off and I make an outfit and I want to make an outfit that he'll see me in. And she was like, I didn't want to see you. Well, you made this outfit for me. What's going on here?
Right, yeah.
It's an interesting themes that they go into within that.
Actually, their courtship, I did think was one of the more entertaining parts of the movie. I mean, to see that it's more in the background, but then it does have this kind of sly little romance subplot where it's a little bit of a love triangle. And, the other guy tries to swoop in there and hit on Alta pretty hard at the start. And, but you can tell she kind of has her eye on the captain. And so you watch that unfold. And I did think that was interesting how he is a little bit aggressive with her. He yells at her, he scolds her, he's kind of fatherly toward her. And you watch their attraction genuinely grow. And I thought that the kissing scene with the other guy was great, the contrast where it was like she kisses the other guy and he's like, this is meant to stimulate you, right? And then he does it and she's like, where's the stimulation? I don't feel anything. And then when she kisses the captain, Leslie Nielsen, she's like, breathing heavily. You can tell, okay, now she feels it.
Yeah. And what we don't get to see is the weird id burning the stain from the father that's buried in his id of my daughter's going to be taken away from me in that Freudian way.
Yeah. When I was scrolling on Letterboxd, so many of the reviews said this movie's so horny. I was like laughing to myself because they were like, wow, this is a real horn dog movie. Like a lot of people said that. Did you think that?
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of just thought like, seems kind of fun. Seems fun to me.
Yeah, I think a fun surface level, but I guess when like let's go with it and try to think about that. There is the weird thing when they first come to the house, and there is a weird moment where the father weirdly puts his arm around the daughter's waist in a creepier way as he watches all of them drive off. He holds her around the waist in her weird little miniskirt and is pulling him towards her like, "You are mine." And maybe that is a weird thing that they're
Mm.
trying to visually get across something strange there. Why does this father want to be on this weird planet with his daughter and not let her leave? I don't know.
Well, it's a movie that, yeah, it eventually goes into the Freudian psychology. It's like that's what the movie's about. The movie's a psychological parable. And yeah, when they said at the beginning, she's never been around another man, right? That she's only ever met her father and she's never even met another man. And Hazel was next to me. She, of course, yes, scrolling on her phone, totally disinterested in this like 1950s boy movie.
Until that line happens.
They said that, and then Hazel looked up and she goes, "Whoa."
Whoa, something's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, she was like, "This girl's never seen another man ever?"
And think about what her father did as soon as these men were going to come there. He told her to go away so she would not be seen.
Mm.
And then she comes wandering back into the scene, and he's like, I told you not to be here. You've disobeyed me." Like, if she wasn't there, they might have come and just said, "Oh, doctor, okay, yeah, we'll go away," which is kind of what he wanted.
Yeah, and then the guy she ends up going for is the most father figure of anyone.
Right.
It's the captain, and the captain even scolds her and, commands her in the same way that her father does. And so, yeah, there's like some definite psychology going on. It's like she's drawn to essentially her father. And then the actual father, yeah, has to give her up. It's like he has to kind of conquer his own inner demons, his own mental demons.
The father has to kill himself in order to allow her to
Right.
leave, is a sacrifice himself.
Yeah, it gets like really heady. And you're like, whoa, okay, let me like wrap my brain around this.
And that's another weird, interesting thing too. When the father puts on the weird headpiece and goes like, "Look, I mean, look in the weird little dome here." What does he visualize right there? He visualizes his daughter, very little, like a
Daughter.
foot tall daughter right there.
Right.
It's a little tip off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking at the beginning, I was like, so the relationship with the father, that's like the only relationship she has. It has molded her entire experience of men. I mean, she's like 20 years old, or, maybe in 1950s world, she's like supposed to be like 16 or 18 or something. But,
We hope she's
oh,
18.
yeah, that's why I immediately said 16 and then I'm like 18. Let me bump that up. But she's old enough to have developed a personality. And so I thought, but that personality has been completely shaped by the way her father has treated her. Yeah.
By her father and then her, like, tiger friend, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But I find that moment when the tigers make go, 'cause that's one of the moments that my dad brought up as well, like a moment that's stuck in his head of the tiger being, disintegrated by the little thing or whatever. We didn't go deeply into it, it was just one of the, the memories that he has of it. I find that also very interesting. Her reaction to that is not like, "Oh my god, my tiger is dead, my friend is dead." She has shock in that way of like, "He was gonna kill me." Like, she's never been, um, surrounded by any sort of violence against her at all, by any of her animal friends, her father, this and that, anything. This is her first viewing of what a violent act could be. It's almost like she's only read about violence, or understood kind of the concept of it. But when she goes, "He was going to kill me," like it's something that's not comprehensible, which is just an interesting thought that the father has tried to, and because he's been able to keep his id down or whatever, because he's the whole ending is the Krell was destroyed because of their id. They were able to access, their own id, and their own id came up and killed their whole fucking society. And then the father comes in here, and he's the only one who's put the fucking thing on his brain, and he's the only one who survived it. So now he has this id running around there in his head of, oh, whether he knows it or not, he's got to keep it as bay. And he doesn't really know that. But all he knows is, okay, it's just me and my daughter here. Everyone else on the crew is dead. So why did they all die? They all died, was it really because, well, they died in the first month? No, they died because the fucking weird id went out there because they all made a vote and they all said that they wanted to go back home. And his brain was going, no, I don't wanna leave. I wanna be here in fucking Eden, and I wanna live here forever, and everything's gonna be fucking hunky dory. And oop, the thing came and killed all of you, and now I'll build these blast doors in case this thing comes back. But he didn't realize that it was coming out of his id. You know what I mean? And that's the realization of the end of the movie, is when he realizes, holy fuck, this was me. This was my fucking brain, my fucking id, and it's the same thing that the fucking Krell had. And that's I'll just jump to my thought process. The ending of this entire movie is the greatest threat in the universe is inside of us. And that's the whole theme of the entirety of this movie, is that is the most scary shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a 1950s Christopher Nolan movie. It leads all the way to the end. And then, yeah, those last 10 minutes, it's like the dominoes just all fall. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the whole theme of this movie, is the greatest threat in the universe is inside of us. Our own minds being the ultimate enemy. That's the realization of all of the universe. All the exploring that you could do to leave Earth and go out there and go wherever you want, it's inside. Inside is the greatest threat.
Yeah, Hazel lost interest as the movie went because there is a lot of exposition. There is a lot of like in between stuff, right? So she started out on the couch with me. She was on her phone. She wasn't looking. She would make comments occasionally. But by this point that you're describing, she's off like doing laundry. She's in the other room. So this is when it turned for me, and I was like, all this
I mean,
psychology
that's
stuff.
how you should watch a movie. Just throwing that out there. That's how all movies should be watched.
But
Doing laundry in the other room. Yeah.
But I was really interested because I'm like, okay, I'm waiting through this whole movie of like, what's it gonna be? What's the answer? Because it is like a mystery movie. It's like, what's going on? And then, yeah, when all that stuff starts coming in, the id and everything, and I was like, okay, this is actually getting really interesting. You know, if I was bored at all by a little bit of that 1950s pace, by this last final act, yeah, I was like super into it. And I was kind of like shouting to Hazel from the other room, like, hey, this is getting interesting,
You're
you
like, this is
know?
more interesting than folding laundry, honey.
Yeah, and I was like, it's getting good.
There's no way to there's no how you gonna bring her back into like she's missed
No.
40 minutes of the movie. Like it's a lost
Yeah.
cause.
And then also by this point, because I will admit I was a little bit bored, I only picked up my phone to look up things about the movie because I was curious because I didn't know that much about it. So I would like quickly Google little things here and there. And as I was pulling up the movie, Googling things, I saw that it's also loosely based on Shakespeare's The Tempest.
It is, yes. I read that.
Yeah.
I read that. I haven't read The Tempest. I read that it was based on Shakespeare's The Tempest, yeah.
Yeah.
And like almost a character for a character thing, and the father and the daughter being on their own island or whatever the fuck. Like all the themes were very specifically taken from there.
Yeah. And so I found that out right as that ending was happening. So I have like, okay, wait, this is actually kind of a Shakespeare play in my head. And then they're throwing out all this id stuff at the end. And I was like shouting to Hazel, like, it's getting good. And I was like, it's based on The Tempest. So the
And
movie
did
was like,
she dropped the laundry and ran back? No,
yeah,
she's like, good for you, honey. Have fun with your
right.
little movie.
I was like, it's based on a Shakespeare play. I mean, she doesn't know The Tempest, but you know, she does know Shakespeare, and she loves theater. So yeah, I don't know if I was trying to win her over and like pull her back in or not,
Lost cause.
but
Lost cause.
I think it was more so like defending the film because okay, admittedly, during the course of the film, you know, I might have said like, oh, this movie's a little bit boring, right? It's like it might have happened a few times. But I was kind of the whole time I was just like, where is it going? So, you know, there were a few scenes that were a little draggy. But then yeah, so then she kind of wandered off. And then I was like, I felt bad because I'm like, I was sort of saying the movie's dragging a little bit. And then at the end, it's like pulling me completely back in. And so I was just like, hey, you know, remember what I said before? Yeah, that's kind of changed because now I'm actually really interested. And I wish she had watched it with me more because it got really interesting. And she likes space. She likes psychology. So, and she's really, really smart. So, I mean, I would have loved to hear her thoughts, but no, we don't get any Hazel.
I mean, if they cut this for her generation, if they cut this down into a 23-minute short, she could have been there.
Yeah.
We could do an alt edit of this just for Hazel. It could be a 23-minute episode, Twilight Zone episode. It would be action packed, and yeah, it would start
Yeah.
right when Alta walks out, and she would go like, "At least I got one woman in this thing." Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there needs to be a remake. And
Well,
I actually heard,
there
yeah.
was going to be for years and years and years and years, and apparently, maybe you're gonna say the same thing, but at one point, Terminator director, how dare
Yeah.
I, James Cameron was tied to trying to get this done for a while, but so many people have been. I'm kinda glad that there's not, though. I
Mm.
really do like the comforting in this. I don't wanna see some J.J. Abrams, a bunch of lens flares, and then Robby the Robot, different like, I love the charm of this. Like, this movie, if you're having trouble falling asleep, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, it's comforting. You could just put this on and be like, "Oh, I got Forbidden Planet in the back." Besides, like, the loud scenes, I might cut out, like, 2 of the loud scenes and make my own edit that's, like, a nice, comforting, like, like, it is also it's supposedly supposed to be the first movie that was just done with, completely, synthetic music.
Right. I read that same thing. Yeah.
The electronic music. Now, there was something that I had to Google, a little bit more because it was called electronic tonalities. Now, as of the time, union rules, this is I copied this to write down. The union rules at the time were Hollywood film scoring was tightly controlled by the American Federation of Musicians, the AFM. if a score was classified as music, MGM would have been required to hire union instrumentalists for it. So they could not specifically say that it was music. So they had to call it electronic tonalities.
Okay.
So this is like the precursor to EDM.
Yeah.
And Bernard Herrmann was involved, not specifically in this, but some of the electronic tonalities I believe that they did in, I think that was The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Okay.
Might need to fact check me on that one.
I don't know, yeah. Yeah, there was that part where, Morbius, he, like, pressed the button and music plays, and then he says I forget the exact line, but it was something like, "That was music from the 35th century." Like, something like that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like music from the future. Anyway, um
Anyway, back to Hazel Laundry. Sorry.
yeah, so just I mean, by the end, yeah, it kinda, like, won me over, and then I just started thinking and it was, like, very, very heavy, and it got all psychological, and then I was just like, "That was a cool movie, like, okay, I get it." Like, yeah, it's doing it's kinda doing the thing where it's, like, putting the subtext, onto the text,
Right.
kind of, right? It's like, this is about the id, and it's just that's the actual story of the film.
It's the end of Psycho. We're gonna explain everything right now. You're gonna get it out, and then you go, "Oh shit, we got it." And what I like about it is when they explain it, you get out of the movie. They're just like, "No, here we are. We're now on the spaceship. We're gonna watch your planet explode. We're gonna watch the Death Star explode, literally, and
Ugh.
then the movie's gonna end."
Yeah. But I thought that was cool. Like, I kinda like that because you actually don't see a lot of movies that do that kinda thing, where it's just like, it's about the id, you know? What do you make of that, audience? And you're like, "Okay." Uh, and I've kinda
Yeah.
thought that was cool, and it reminded me of, like, yeah, like a Star Trek episode, This is like a giant pilot, kind of big budget version.
Yeah, because that's one of the first things my dad said to me was that's, like, the aspect of the movie when he thinks about it, is the ending, the whole thing is about the fucking, this monster that is the fucking id, and I can imagine that being, like, a revolutionary thing to think about in, like, a fucking movie coming out from 1956, that it's not like, "Oh, what was the rubber monster doing? Oh, that was a fun little movie." So you come out and you actually
Yeah.
have thought-provoking things to think about. I know we joked around about, "Oh, the father wanted to rape the daughter." I mean, that's, forget that for a second. Like, that's not we're talking about the id aspect of this thing, of the protective nature of the guy going, "I don't wanna leave this planet. I don't wanna leave Eden." He's made his perfect area and he doesn't want outsiders coming in and he doesn't want to leave. And his inner mindset, that id, is going, no, I want to protect not leaving this place. And all those other little graves that he put up there on the headstone, his weird id, it was just his id going, I don't want to leave this place. And the id took over and murdered all those people. Not that he wanted it to, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Ray didn't want to think about the Stay Puft that was coming out there. It was just, it's like, don't think about a blue giraffe. You think about a blue giraffe.
Right.
He couldn't hold this thing in. You just go, well, I don't want to leave. And I'm the one who put the three things on my forehead. And now there's something else that's just taken over that goes, all it knows is I don't want to leave this planet. So I will protect you from leaving this planet. I will murder and destroy and kill anyone who wants to leave this planet. The weird question is, to think about, when that thing, the monster, breaks through that door, when it gets through the door, if the doctor didn't, demise of his own being, would it just have killed everyone else and left the doctor alive? Because the weird thing is Robbie noticed that it was him. When he goes, "Robbie, kill it," Robbie starts malfunctioning because Robbie knows that is you. That is your id. This is you coming in through these doors.
Yeah.
So he malfunctions. So this is him. Would his id also be coming in to kill him? Or would it just kill Alta? Or would it have just killed the other guy, knowing that, oh, you and Alta will live here happy forever? Like, that's
Yeah.
other weird questions to think about.
I like that moment when the captain had that matter-of-fact quality and he turned to, Morbius and he's like, he knows, it's like, Robbie knows. He knows that's you.
And I think that's an important point that it needs to be said because I even forgot it when watching this time. I needed that as an audience to have that explanation. I would have thought when he Robby kill it that Robby just starts malfunctioning because I can't kill, but he's been programmed not to kill humans. I wouldn't have thought deep enough at that moment. I think that was good to tip the audience off to that.
Yeah, it's another one of those moments of the movie that is smart and it treats you like you're smart because the captain is trying to convince Morbius that this is Cam, that this is a part of his subconscious. And, Morbius doesn't want to believe it, and so he's trying to prove it. And this is one of the key pieces of evidence is like, look, Robby won't even kill it. And it's like, it's for the audience too, because it's almost like he's also showing the audience, like he's making as Morbius is being won over to this idea, so does the audience as well.
Yeah, because it's as smart as he has a giant blind spot where this has been his denial. Like he's even sitting there going like, how could I have missed this thing? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you missed it because it's your own brain. You're the enemy. It's the last place that you would look.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why the movie's so cool, is because it gets like really, really smart and really deep and really interesting. And like it has so many pieces of other movies. Like what you just said made me think of Memento. Again, Christopher Nolan, the way
Ooh,
it's like,
very good.
yeah, it's like your brain will, create this smoke screen. And it's like your brain doesn't want to show you the truth that's inside there. It wants to create this illusion. And you have to work your way through and like see it clearly. But it takes effort because it's like you don't want to see it. You actually don't want to see it. We all like to think like, oh, yeah, of course. Of course I would see the truth about myself. But in fact, I think we're all living on the other side of that smoke screen. And you have to like push your way through. And that's what I thought was so cool about this movie is that Memento is a movie about a man who's trapped and he can't see the truth. He's constructed his own illusion and he lives inside of it and he can't get out. What I loved about this movie, Forbidden Planet, is that this Morbius character, he does turn out to be the quote unquote villain, kind of, but actually not really, because he's a good enough man to sacrifice himself and to say, you're right, you're right. And I love my daughter more than my own self. And that's when he says, you're right. And just, I can let it go. Because it's like the love conquers.
In the end, he's not a pederast. So I just want to make that clear. Like we made jokes and allusions earlier. He's not a pederast.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I was watching the movie. I was just like, all right, yeah, this movie's like points to your dad. Like it's a deep movie. It's like I didn't find it, your mom's pick that kind of matches this one was The Incredible Shrinking Man.
And talk about the deep ending in that movie. I mean, dear God, my parents picked some deep, deep fucking philosophical, soul-searching films.
Yeah. No wonder you're smart. Your parents are smart.
Helps.
Yeah, I know. This actually showed me a lot about your parents. Yeah. And I actually see the connection between the two also. I mean, in a weird way, if the Forbidden Planet were a person and the Incredible Shrinking Man were a person, I could see how those two people would be drawn to each other. Right? So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they both end up living alone on their own planets and facing themselves and
that's
being small
true.
within the universe. And
Wow.
they both end up perishing.
Wow. Yeah. Your parents must have this connection where they kind of feel similarly, right? Because these films that they're very drawn to, you're right. The feeling of isolation is actually very strong in both movies.
In both those themes. And
Yeah.
in The Incredible Shrinking Man, he doesn't want isolation. He's fighting against it. In this movie, the man is dying for isolation. He wants isolation.
Yeah. I enjoyed The Incredible Shrinking Man more, I would say, from minute to minute. Like just as a entertainment experience. The Incredible Shrinking Man was a more entertaining movie, like from scene to scene. This Forbidden Planet, I thought, had a little more of like slow stretches to it. But both movies were so similar, and the same with Incredible Shrinking Man. I mean, that ending took me to another level, and I was already enjoying it enough where when the ending came, I was like, "This is one of the best movies I've ever seen." Forbidden Planet, it didn't quite hit me on in that same way,
'Cause there was
but
enough
I was
action throughout it and voiceover. Voiceover of the character in Incredible Shrinking Man, I think,
uh,
helped a lot during that. Without those voiceover scenes, if you cut them out and cut out his interior monologue, you might have felt certain aspects of, "I'm feeling a little lonely," where they kept you throughout all the bridges of his interior monologue. Like, when he's in the basement, there's a lot of interior monologue going on there, telling you what he's feeling and what he's doing.
yeah. Incredible Shrinking Man, I mean, there's more plot that turns faster, you
Right.
know? And so the scenes are more entertaining just on a scene-to-scene basis. Forbidden Planet has a lot of scenes that are designed to explain something to you that's not gonna pay off until 30 minutes later, and they're setting everything up, and it's like this chess match where they're just slowly going through each piece, setting up all the pieces. And so it's not as, just edge of your seat entertaining to
Right.
watch, but by the end, it pays off in such a spectacular way that by the end I was so pulled forward, I was pulled into it. And it made me come away saying like, "You know what? That movie was actually pretty great."
If you can hold off from folding laundry, there's a good payoff.
If only Hazel had stuck with it, I'd be like, yeah, the
The
movie, it
funny part is
really,
she never will again. Even if she would listen through this whole podcast, she would never sit down to watch it ever again.
No, if I said to her, "Listen, it has a great ending. Let's start it from the beginning again. Put the phone away. Let's watch the whole thing."
No, no, that's not where you'd have to say, "I'm gonna drop $2.5 million dollars into your bank account," you have to put your phone down and watch it. She's like, "I had to put my phone down?" She's like, 4.5 million right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess my takeaway was, I mean, it's weird because I keep thinking about Christopher Nolan. I mean, similar to Inception as well, where it's like it's happening inside of your mind. And, Inception is not 100% the same, but it's like DiCaprio has the love for his children that he's trying to get back to. And, the movie is about like conquering this kind of, demon.
Well, that's some conscious guilt over,
Right.
what's the what Maul, she's intruding on his dreams and wrecking, each one of the jumps, the missions that he has to go on, and that id monster is, that id monster theme is like the pinnacle of like psychological thriller form within that movie. That's 100. You're 100% right on pointing that out. 100%.
Yeah. I think we talked about this before that I like movies that essentially have a happy ending that are very positive. So
Yeah.
I love that about this movie that it could have been a darker movie. It could have been about, being trapped. Maybe the monster eats him at the end or whatever. But instead, no, the love conquers. It's like the love inside of him is stronger than the fear. And so, he actually grows and he changes and he has a heroic ending, which is to sacrifice himself, yeah, for his daughter and for, his daughter's love that she's chosen and for them to have a better future.
Yeah, and he's a conscious man. He's a very thinking man. He's a doctor, and he's, specifically said, "My IQ is 180," or whatever the fuck it was, some genius level. Like, it's the conscious, overtaking the subconscious. It is the what is this, the Star Trek thing? The great unknown, or we're going places where no one has gone. He's going inside of his own brain. He's visiting the one place he's never psychoanalyzed. It's his id. He's looked at everything else and constructed everything else and understands absolutely everything. And he's a very analytical man, but he's never conquered his own id, or that's why his shock is like, "Oh my God, this was me the whole time." So the end of the movie is his conscious going, "No, fuck you, subconscious. I'm gonna fucking beat you in the end."
Yeah, I love the fact that he was this genius intellect, but he couldn't see the truth about his own mind and about himself. That was great. It was like, okay, he's supposedly so smart, and yet, aha, he's got like this Achilles heel. He's got this blind spot. And so he's not that smart, is he? And it's like he has to get smarter and he has to grow. But it's more of like he has to grow his heart because he's such an intellectual guy. It's like all he's ever worked on is his mind. And so he doesn't understand his own heart. He doesn't understand that he has fear, and he has like this control over his daughter, right? The desire for control. And he has to soften.
It is a weird thing to contend with because he says to them at one point, like, "Oh, she can do whatever she wants. She could go if she wants." And I think he says that when they first come or whatever, and she's like, "Father, why would I wanna go anywhere? I'd wanna be here." And, of course, she's obviously saying that as somebody who weirdly, he's quote unquote programmed. Like you said, she's the only thing that she knows is that world with him and with, her animals outside.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to say, so he's very intellectual. He's very strict. He has this very masculine harshness about him. And I was going to point out that I love that the captain character, who I think is meant to be the main character, he's our hero. He has more softness. He's like in between. He's in between the father and the daughter in terms of his personality, right? He has a leadership quality. He has a strictness. He's strict with one of his crew members. So he's a masculine man, but he has the romance and he has the softness as a part of his personality. And so he has the part of him that draws him to Alta and who can be soft and seductive with Alta and loving toward Alta. And so he's like essentially like the better version of the father. It's like he splits the difference between the two. And that more masculine harshness has to die off. And you have to embrace your heart, your feelings, in order to conquer that id. That's the monster in your mind, and that's how you conquer it. Is for the men, you have to embrace the more feminine side of your personality and you have to let in the heart.
True, but think about the first guy who hit on Alta who brought her over to Robby to have like the coffee with her or whatever. That was the most feminine of the three guys who takes Alta and then tries to pull her away from the little group of the three of them. And he's being very soft with her, and she then is oh, nice, I'm glad you don't like this. And she starts to say about the captain or whatever, I don't like the way he looks at me. He's like this. He's like, oh yes, watch out for him. I'm not like him. I'm the softer one. I'm glad you don't look at me the way he does. And it's just funny what's being said surface level, but what's being felt on a deeper level. Like they're playing with those themes there, even with that trio who's obviously looking at her and the one guy tries to pull her away.
He's a little more of the snake.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time.
Yeah. Because he's being soft with her, but it's not a genuine softness.
It's not genuine. No. He's
No,
like, I want
it's
to fuck you.
manipulative.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's like the deceitful one.
And he even says that when she goes, oh, well, he's looking at it. He goes, well, don't think I'm too nice.
Right. He realizes, oh, I made a mistake.
Yeah. I played this card wrong here.
Yeah, he did a terrible job at the beginning because he set it up. He set it up where the captain was so desirable. I mean, he's like,
Yes.
look, he's got fire in his eyes, and she's like, oh my God, you're right. The way he looked at me. And it
He
was like,
does.
yeah. And then the guy was like, oh no, what have I done?
fucked up.
Yeah.
I've intrigued her to this man. Why have I done this?
That was great.
This episode is brought to you by Chair Pants, the revolutionary pants that are also a chair. Tired of standing, but also tired of sitting in regular pants? Chair Pants has you covered. Using patented Sit Anywhere technology, Chair Pants deploys in under 2 seconds so you can sit whenever and wherever. Meetings? Sit. Elevators? Sit. Waiting in line for coffee while rethinking all your life choices? Sit. How does it work? Hidden inside each leg are lightweight telescoping carbon fiber supports. Add in NASA-grade gyroscopes for perfect balance, and you've got instant mobile sitting power. No chair required, no dignity lost. Chair pants, because chairs are just pants that gave up. Use code SITDOWN for 15% off your first pair. Your quads will thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question about the tiger, because you had mentioned the tiger, and it connects to what we're talking about right now. This is one of my favorite elements of the movie because I actually myself will admit I didn't 100% get it. And again, this is another element where the movie treats you like you're smart, because she says to, she kisses Leslie Nielsen, and she says that, and the tiger comes over and she says, "Oh, it's okay, he's my friend." And the tiger leaps at them, and Leslie Nielsen has to do the ray gun.
Right.
And then you're right, she's so shocked, and she's like, "But he was gonna kill us," like, and she doesn't know why. And Leslie Nielsen says to her, "Do you really not know?" And then the scene just ends.
Oh.
And even myself, I was like, "Well, why?
Oh, I
What
think
is the
it's
reason?"
so I think it's 2 levels. I think Leslie Nielsen is answering on question number 1, or answer number 1, "Do you really not know tigers are dangerous?" And I think that's what I don't think Leslie Nielsen has brought it to the secondary level of what it really is, which is, your father's id has now been awoken, and he sees that this kiss in a subconscious way, are you coming with me, or breaking away from your father, is a larger metaphor for what's really happening. Now, the id on the planet has realized Eden has been fucked over now. They're living on a planet that is Eden. It's Adam and Eve, but father and daughter living in this beautiful place where everything is fine because the father's brain has been, put through the thing that the aliens created that gets into the id. So as soon as the kiss happens and as soon as all this stuff starts happening, the father's id starts going, "My daughter is leaving me. Eden is about to collapse." So I think he's answering on the level of, do you really not know those things are normally dangerous? It is weird that the tiger would be doing this, but the real answer is that's daddy. That was daddy's subconscious id going, my daughter is getting further away to cracking the reality of the Eden that we're living in, and she's being pulled back to the earthling people. And the id that's in there is, I this is destroy. I have anger. Why is this happening? Somebody else is providing for my daughter beyond this, and it's going to rupture my reality.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I definitely took it as like a certain like loss of sexual innocence kind of thing.
Well, think about how many times do you see like YouTube videos or fathers of like, I even had to shoot one of these videos where they were like, swap your phones with daddy and daughter, swap
Mm.
phones. And there was one where the father was looking through text messages and realized that his daughter lost the virginity. And I was like, this is the most awkward thing. Why are we pointing cameras at these people as they're doing this? Like, this is the most, and they're like, this makes for great internet. I was just like, this is very destructive what we're doing right now, honestly. Like, this is a private conversation that they should be having, and we should not be doing this. But that anger within the father, and that it wasn't just anger that I saw. It was actually um it was him seeing the loss of innocence of his daughter, and it was really, she laughed going, "It's okay," and he had just had this look on his face of just like, "I'm crushed because I just saw my little baby girl grow up, and I didn't I've been out of the loop, and I didn't know this happened." And there was obviously a anger inside of him, and an embarrassment that he's being filmed, and, like, it was a horrible thing to watch. Um and that aspect is, I think, is what they're going for here. Like, I don't have a little daughter or whatnot, but I can imagine a thing where you want to protect. And what this guy is doing in his little world that he's built up here is he's protected his daughter in a way that he's thought, "Oh, I have this world. She's got her animals. She's got this and that whole thing. And now this thing comes around and now she kisses another man and these invaders have come in and all this stuff is happening." His id is obviously sitting there affecting certain shit, and there's a metaphor for that is a fucking lion who's gonna turn against and jump. And was that lion jumping at her, or was that lion jumping at him?
Okay, okay, so you interpreted it as the father's mind is also connected to the animals. Like it's not just
So I
the
don't
invisible monster. There's also almost just like this kind of spiritual connection where this whole place is infused with his subconscious.
I think it's the whole planet. The entirety of the planet is because the monster that comes from the father isn't the same monster that killed the Krell. When the Krell got in there and used their brains, their subconscious went out and they created their own monsters. And whether those monsters were whatever the fuck, it came from their own id, ego, superego. And I think in the same way that Zool does the whole thing with the fucking Marshmallow Man, I think it can manifest in anything that's around.
Yeah.
It's just a thought process.
I'm not an expert on Freud, but this movie is clearly so Freudian. I bet you could take elements of this plot and then Freudian psychology and just graft them like one to one.
Oh yeah, I mean Jordan Peterson could probably do an 8-hour episode on this fucking movie.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
The tiger must be like a symbol for, you
mm.
know, the whatever, the loss of sexual innocence.
Yeah, there's a reason that the deer didn't come after and try to kill her. You know what I mean? Like there's a metaphor going on with the fucking the evilest beast that we've seen out of them, come out. There's a reason the tiger attacks and not a little monkey or something.
Yeah, I kind of thought of it like she's one with these animals, you know, these vicious predators are in harmony when they're in her presence and she has this power to tame them. It's almost like they're in love with her, you know, oh, this beautiful female creature, you know, and she has this magic aura that tames them, that tames the aggression, much like the aggression in the human men that we see later. And so I kind of saw it like once her allegiance is to another man, you know, once she essentially falls in love with Leslie Nielsen, the captain, this tiger is almost like jealous that there's like, okay, the tiger, she's no longer loyal to the tiger, essentially, right? And so it's like there's this turn. But you're right, the tiger and the father are also essentially the same. They both, yeah, they both have that same feeling.
You made me think of something even deeper now. I like this. This is what I like. And you made me think of something. The father is the only one on the planet who's put on the weird 3 dots on his head, and now he has maybe affected the entire planet. Like when he put those 3 things on his head, all the other people ended up dying within a month. You know what I mean? Including his own wife. Anybody who wanted to leave died, right? Now, little Alta was such a baby, she didn't have a presence on, I want to leave, I don't want to leave, whatever. And he's grown her up. Now, he's the only one who, by putting those things on his head, the whatever that is, the going into the id or whatever, obviously can manifest outwardly. So as soon as they're all dead, yes, he's in grief, but his id no longer has a fear of being taken away from the planet. He now goes, okay, everything is right with the planet. I will be here. I will build my Eden. I'm going to build my Robby. My Robby will be able to build the house and the things. And he makes sure in case that thing ever comes back, we're going to build these big doors and whatever. But he doesn't really have to worry about that. Maybe because of that, you can manifest something so bad, but you can also manifest something so good, such as a tiger and these other animals having nothing but love for the daughter. Because there's no outside influence from the id, ego, superego, whatever the fuck, all that shit. There's none of that, so they do become friends with her. These other animals and these other things, and those are all good until the father then goes, now I have fear. Now outsiders have come. Oh no, things are going on. And that kiss, that metaphor, is the broken, finally the veil is over. Oh no, my daughter is going to leave. This is terrible right now. And that's when the animals are manifested as if, being affected by the monster or whatever, and do lash out as if daddy's screaming at you.
It's very interesting. It also made me think of actually Guardians of the Galaxy, specifically the second one. I don't know if you remember that one, but because it's a little bit of a spoiler, but I don't know if I should say because it's kind of a spoiler actually.
Oh no, I've seen them. I've seen them. I don't remember
Okay.
them word for word, and we'll watch them again. I remember the first one
Well,
having great music in it.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's almost like the father is the planet itself. You know, it's like he's so connected to this place that it's
He's the
like,
god of his
yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah. It's almost like the entire place is just a reflection of his mind, essentially.
This is some Old Testament shit going on within this.
Yeah. It's it's not just the monster. Because I originally I thought of it as just the monster, that part of the story. You know, when those footsteps go, it's like that's Morbius's id. But you're extending it to,
I'm extending it to the fact of
yeah.
all the animals, all the
It's like just the energy in this entire place. It's almost like his mind. And they actually talk about that in the movie. They talk about how you can get to a point where your mind can essentially create reality, in real time, where it's like you can gain the ability to create, like your thoughts become reality.
you're manifesting.
Yeah, exactly.
If you manifest the monster, you can manifest the lion or the tiger being angry.
Right. Essentially, this entire world is a manifestation of his mind.
Pretty good for a 1956 film here.
Yeah, that was another element that kind of caught me. Was I remember that now, was the yeah, that idea of like the mental manifestation and everything. And it's almost like your mind is going to manifest regardless, but if you're blind to it, it'll manifest destruction. Because the part of your mind that you're not aware of is gonna grab on and be that possessive subconscious of like, no, mine, me, me, me. And it thinks so small, it only thinks in terms of itself. And once you break through that, you say, oh, no, there's more than just me.
The me is the 2001 monkeys, and the person who kills the id is the Star Child.
Yeah, I thought of it like, yeah, the me is like HAL 9000 wants to stay alive and, kills the other astronaut.
Now, there was a thought process that I had here. Sorry, just to throw this one out here. I had a thought process because Robby had his malfunction moment there, right? Did Hal malfunction because he's getting two different inputs?
Okay, I
Did
see.
Hal have his,
Okay.
Robby spurting head because he doesn't know what to do?
I
Because I'm
see.
getting two different conflicting things here. Is that but potential thought process of
We're
Hal?
jumping back into our 2001 episode.
Well, we've got
I see.
another what? We've got
I see
another
what's
14
happening.
minutes. Why not? Why not?
That could be a take on what is the explanation for what goes on with Hal in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Maybe there's this conflicting input of I'm an AI who's been programmed to help humans, but then wait a minute, self-survival, kill humans. And then which one's gonna win? And then like meltdown. And then, oh, the AE-35 unit is failing, guys. But no, he's wrong because there's like this breakdown that's occurring.
Right. What
Okay.
do you do when there's the breakdown and you go,
Okay.
wait a
Alright.
minute, the A35, it is gonna fail, it is gonna fail, it is gonna fail, it is gonna fail, and then the human goes, it didn't fail, and he goes, I see they say it didn't fail, I know it did fail, malfunction, 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 malfunction.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was thinking as I was watching this, I thought Stanley Kubrick must have loved this movie.
Fuck
Like,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Because there was a lot of 2001. I actually thought about 2001 a lot while watching it. Yeah.
It takes its time, it gives the audience, it respects the audience.
Yeah.
And it expects something of the audience, especially a 2025 audience. I think that's what's interesting about watching, some older films as well. Older films that have stood the test of time. You can look at them and go, "Huh,
Mm.
this would not be made like this today." And I'm glad for it. I'm glad that there is this type of film.
Yeah, the part of our 2001 podcast that I liked was when we were talking about how Hal was essentially playing chess with them. Like he was setting everything up ahead of time. So I don't know. I wonder if that theory, what you just said,
That's true. It might not be true.
yeah, I wonder if that could be true. I mean, 2001 is so open to interpretation.
Well, the other reason and I kind of went with it now, but the reason I kind of went with the other thing, I was still thinking about the 2010 aspect where he's been programmed in a certain way to have a different mission, and that always fucks with my stupid brain. I
Right,
wish I
right,
could
right.
watch. I wish I could watch 2001 having never seen 2010. I kind of don't ever want you to watch it, only for that reason, because
Yeah.
then you watch it in that way, going like, oh, okay, he was kind of anyway, yeah. But yes, you're right. It doesn't work singular. My theory that I just put out now, it doesn't singularly work within the world of just 2001 taking it as a thing, 100%.
Yeah, I liked our interpretation that the AE-35 unit was just the first move of the chess match, and that
Right. I
Hal
like that too.
essentially Hal has an agenda even before that, and we don't know what it is. So the movie really leaves that open of like what's going on with this AI. I had said maybe the AI thinks by when we get to Jupiter, I know I'm going to be shut down, so it's actually in self-defense mode, even like the moment that we need it.
Yeah.
There could, but who knows? I mean, it's so open to interpretation. But I wanted to say that 2001 kind of has that quality of like a chess match where it's like the AI is trying to deceive you. And in Forbidden Planet, when Morbius was telling all that backstory, there's a lot of that exposition of like, oh yeah, the people on the planet got killed and there was this attack and I had no idea what's going on. I kept thinking, okay, is he lying? Like, it sounds like he's lying, it's like, is he's trying to deceive them? I started off thinking like, well, he's the villain, and so he's up to something. So there's this feeling, there's this like lack of trust that you have in him, I think, throughout the movie. It's like, is what he's saying true? And I think what I just realized through our discussion is that he's not lying. He's lying to himself. He's not lying to the crew that lands. Everything he says, he thinks that's true. He just doesn't know. He doesn't actually
Right.
know he doesn't even know what's happening. He presents
So
himself like I'm the expert.
he's not
you know?
consciously lying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But he's lying to himself.
You made me think of sorry, you just made me think of something else about 2001.
I was trying to bring it back.
I know
to
you were trying to come
Forbidden
back, but then
Planet.
my mind was like 20% listening to you as you were saying that. What if the monolith or the alien beings or whatever, what if they made the unit fail? Or what if they sent out a thing to Hal? What if Hal's malfunctioning because of them? Because in the end, when he shuts down Hal, all we get is now he's just floating through the fucking Stargate sequence. You know what I mean? What if the aliens were there and their presence of being there was fucking up Hal? I never thought of that before now.
Okay, see, I told you that we might need to do a second part to 2001. Okay, ready? I'm going to actually tie it into Forbidden Planet. My
Okay.
last point about 2001, I said it was like Hal is like the part of your brain that is like the subconscious, that's just in the self-defense mode. And I said my interpretation of that could be that Kubrick is illustrating that if you turn that part of your mind off, you reach this next level of consciousness, because you're changing the chemistry, you're changing the mechanics of how your mind works. And this movie actually does the same thing, where the monster is that part of his mind, the killer monster that's in self-defense mode literally is it is the part of his mind, and he does turn it off. And Forbidden Planet, they don't take you to the Star Child, they don't take you through the Stargate. It doesn't go there. But what it does do is it gives you essentially the Forbidden Planet version of that, which is the happy ending of, they tape Alta off the planet, and then the last scene is them in this better future where, they're on the spaceship and they've reached this kind of greater level of harmony. They completed their mission. And so it has a happy ending where there is a growth. And, they have now the woman is on the ship. So there's like this evolution. Um, but the idea of Hal and the id, the monster in this movie, I think those two are similar. I think those two are linked.
That's good.
Yeah.
I said it before, but we didn't harp on it. When she watches her planet get destroyed, that is totally Star Wars. You have to say that is Dantooine being exploded when Princess Leia is looking out and they go, I felt 1,000 voices rush out and die. Like, her watching her planet explode is the fucking Death Star shooting at Princess Leia's planet and watching it completely explode. It's the last scene in this movie.
Yeah, let me watch that again.
It's identical. She's in his arms looking out.
Oh, right. That's right.
It is Star Wars. It is
That's
100%
right.
Star Wars.
And she gets very emotional.
Yeah, she's watching her planet. Her father's already dead, but all of her other deer, imagine them. They're all exploding. They're all dying. Like, anything that she's ever loved on that planet is now gone forever. It's Princess Leia watching. Princess Leia was watching 1 billion people, die. That is they say that too in that movie. That is the biggest genocide that you'll ever see on film. It's in Star Wars, watching an entire planet fucking explode.
And so, yes, and it does. It has this burst of white light.
Yep.
And yeah, and she's emotional, and she turns around and seeks comfort in the captain's arms. But the movie ends with we're saying the planet is almost like the representation of his monster subconscious.
Yeah, the planet is the world. It's the Eden that he has created.
And through the love of his daughter and, through the turning off of that, he goes through this transformation. He sacrifices that part of himself, which has consumed him. Therefore, the physical body that he inhabits has to die. And then not only that, but then the entire planet itself, dies, quote unquote, blows up, but also not just blows up, transforms into a ball of glowing white light, similar to the Star Child.
Pretty good.
At the end of 2001.
Now, you're looking at it as a happy ending. I still have to say that I'm bringing it back to the greatest threat in the universe is inside of all of us. So the id in Alta and in the captain and every other person on that ship and in every other person on planet Earth, their ids still need to be contended with. So I think in the end, it comes back to a very JP way of looking at something. That greatest threat inside the universe is inside of all of us. We all need to contend with our id to have ultimate peace and whatever. So it is a happy ending inside the movie, but now you just got fucking 15 other ids floating around on that spaceship, heading on back to Earth with 1 billion other ids.
Yeah. And I think that's why the movie has clearly been as impactful as it has been, and why it has had influence on so many filmmakers and so many intellectual type thinkers, because the guys we're talking about, George Lucas, Christopher Nolan, Stanley Kubrick, you're talking about the great geniuses of cinema who have created work that has done similar things, that has shown us how to essentially expand the mind. I mean, Stanley Kubrick, making 2001 and showing you the Star Child, that's the evolution of human consciousness into this godlike form. It's almost like, how do you even visualize it? But he chooses to visualize it in that way. But it's an artistic illustration of, the next greater level of human consciousness. And this movie speaks to that, I would actually say.
100%, and we've done it. We've got to get off. Dad, I hope we did you justice here on Unforbidden Planet.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I love that.
I think it was a great combo.
Yeah.
I think it was a really good combo about this.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like the conversation has made me like the movie more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ending with that glowing white light, that's pretty cool. It's like the light of the soul, it's like it's light up the dark.
It's
It's
Light Up the Dark, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There, we were waiting 2 hours for it, but we found it right there. Smooth, kick that shit.
I'm the break in the flicker, the cut in the edit, the blade through the credits, a frame they embedded. Light in the distance, persistence poetic. The dark is a prison, I brighten with aesthetic. No stunt doubles, I tumble through trap fights. The scripts in my soul, I control on my track spikes. Whisper in a reel, I reveal with the black light. The dark is a canvas that I carve with a flashlight. Call it a war cry, a cinematic spark. A puzzle in the shadows, a code of the art. It's Andrew and Greg and the legacy embarks. Our voices ignite and we light up the dark.
And Leslie Nielsen is drowning Ted Danson for having an affair with his wife. He buries him up to his neck in sand. And then this is the most fucked up part. Sorry to take a side note, but we're talking about Leslie Nielsen here. Leslie Nielsen puts up a television screen in front of him. He owns the entire beach, right? He puts up a television screen in front of him, and down the beach, miles away, is another television screen or a camera that he's looking into. Leslie Nielsen is making Ted Danson watch Leslie Nielsen's wife drown before he will drown. So he knows that the water's coming up, but he's further up the beach. So he's going to watch her drown. She can't see him, and she's screaming as the water rushes in. She can't move. And Ted Danson's sitting there. All he has before he drowns is he's going to watch her drown. And Leslie Nielsen is just the most fucked up person character at all. And I saw Creepshow. I saw Creepshow before. Maybe? No, I saw Creepshow after this. So I had seen him in this, but I don't think it dawned on me as much that this was Leslie Nielsen when I was a kid. Like, I kind of got it, but I don't think it was like, really there.
Yeah, I must not have seen Creepshow because that doesn't ring a bell at all. Is that like a drama? Or is
Oh,
that
no, it's a
is it a
horror.
comedy? Oh, it's just
it's a
straight horror. Oh, straight
straight horror.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
it's not comedy at all. It's fucked up. And it's made up of like 4 small segments. Like the movie is like 4 small short stories. I believe it's 4. It might be 3, but I
Okay,
believe
okay,
it
yeah,
might be 4 small
yeah.
short. And they made Creepshow 2. So we're finally going to be getting into horror where we're into
Yeah.
2036 where we've listed out all the movies we're going to do. And I stayed away from horror with you for a long period of time. But now, after we went to see Weapons, I was like, you guys have seen horror. You can deal with the 80s horror. Like, let's get in there. At first, you were
Yeah.
like, let's not do horror. But I think by 2036, we can really start getting into some horror.
I
So.
see, yeah. Yeah, that's my major gap. You can tell because I don't even know Creepshow.